welcome to the second episode of Silence is Coleman. I'm this week's host, Jason Button, and with me are
Rory Drake
and Alex Miller.
And after last week, we were able to be a bit more positive this time because there was actually a win.
Unbelievably.
2-0 against Burton Albion, and clean sheet, good performances all round. It seemed to finally be clicking.
I mean, couldn't have gone much better, to be fair. With I can't remember, apart from maybe Catamol, everyone else put in a good performance. It was a real team performance, what we've been looking for so long now. And actually to get different goal scorers as well, with Honeyman and James Vaughan as well, to get another one will boost his confidence as well going into the next game.
Because it really was, like I just said, apart from Catamol, the complete performance. And it's tough to really look back at any negatives from this weekend, because there's Coleman got Football League manager of the weekend. Things just finally seem to be clicking at the club.
I would say there was one little negative, and that would be that James Vaughan, after he scored, got a yellow card, which will mean he's now suspended for Saturday's game against Reading.
Yeah, that is one of the... It's because after scoring, there was a pretty big celebration from why he got yellow carded. So yeah, I feel like it's a bit of a negative for him and the club, really, because there's not many options up top now. And I think Madja might get a chance now after playing a couple of games under 23s. He might actually get on the bench now, hopefully anyway. Because
this is what we were saying last week. There's not a huge amount of quality up top, and if there is quality, then there's not enough depth. And this suspension could really scupper things, like for the Reading game this weekend.
Yeah, I think Graben's a player that they're going to know quite well, as he was there last season at Reading, and so Vaughan might have been a good option to use because they won't know as much about him, but obviously that's not an option now. And there's not too many forward players available for Sunderland, but I'm sure Coleman will probably have an idea of how he's going to approach it and what he's going to do. And I don't think, well, I don't know, I think it'll be a loss, but I think they should be able to cope one game without him.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to really hamper the team that much. Like, as in, like, they won't win the game, but just having that extra option up top is a bit of a blow to the side, considering obviously with him just scoring especially.
And also, big news this week: Lewis Graben is potentially going to be recalled by Bournemouth. We were saying this last week that it could potentially happen, and now there's fairly heavy rumours that it is going to go through.
Yeah, it's a massive blow at the season, considering apart from him, I think McGeady and Honeyman and the next two top goal scorers, and he's the only player we've got who naturally looks like he can finish the ball and put it in the back of the net. And it's due to because we've got no money. Because if we had any sort of money, you'd think we'll get Graben in. Because I can't see him being that expensive. Because he hasn't done it in the Premier League or anything, so he's not going to go to a Premier League team.
I think one of the most frustrating things is that one of the clubs that is being linked with is Wolves, who, let's face it, don't really need a goal-scoring threat because they're doing superbly at the moment.
I mean, I guess if Leo Bonatini got injured, they haven't really got too many strikers themselves. But then I guess they could just bring in a striker from Benfica or something like that.
I still personally think it was a bad mistake from them to get rid of Neuer Dicko. I really do.
I think Dicko was struggling at the start of the season. I saw him for Wolves against Yeovil in the Carabao Cup, and
nearly to the Capital One there, didn't it?
Yeah, nearly did.
Changed so many times.
And he didn't really seem to get going in that game. I think he did score the only goal of the game, but I wasn't at all surprised to see him go up to Hull. I actually saw him there this season. He's come on a fair bit. He's improved after coming back from his injury now at Hull, although it's not going that well for him or Hull so far this season.
Also, if he did go to Wolves, he wouldn't be the main striker. Well, does he want to really play on the bench when he's 29 years old?
At 29, you'd think he's in the peak of his career.
Yeah.
He's come to Sunderland, he's scoring goals, He's got the team behind him. He's got the fans behind him now. And this could be a setback to all parties involved, apart from Bournemouth, of course.
Yeah, because it might not even. I doubt it's up to Graben with him. Even if he doesn't, even if he wants to stay at Sunderland, he'd probably be forced to go back. But yeah, I mean, if Ella Shaw's listening, please buy him.
But trying to be a bit more positive, but going back to Saturday, Chris Coleman, at the end of the game, not sure if you've seen it on Twitter, but the video of him going over to the fans shows that he really, really cares about this and the job that it's got to do and the job that it's got ahead of him.
Yeah, that's the main thing about Coleman is his passion. He's trying to bring that to the club as a whole and the players, and that's something which has been sorely missed. Because I don't think Simon Grayson was necessarily a bad appointment. It wasn't. As it gradually went on, it just kept going downhill.
I think he had a lot to contend with, considering Defoe and Pickford left over the summer. The mood of the club wasn't great. Coming in this year wasn't fantastic. He did have a lot on his back.
Yeah, it's just the demeanour of the last couple of managers we've had, especially David Moyes. I mean, if you compare the two, it's polar opposites.
Yeah.
I think that's what Sunderland needed as well. So it just shows again that on paper this is a really good appointment and it's exactly what the club needed. Whether it works out or not, we'll see. But I think the early signs are quite positive.
It's great to see him just going to the fans at the end of the game, and obviously because the fans were generating most of the atmosphere, and you could tell how pleased the fans were, and seeing videos of them on Twitter, and see him going there was just an added boost to the game as well.
Because the fans deserve it. They sell out every away end, every other week, and it's fantastic to see. And it's good to see that they're finally getting rewarded for their efforts.
And I remember I was listening to Chris Coleman was saying after the game, and he was saying to the players, go over and enjoy it with the fans. They pay the money. They don't get to see this very often. Go and enjoy it.
Because we were saying this last week. Him and his Wales squads, the way that he got them together and going for the same cause was fantastic. And you saw it at the Euros. You saw the togetherness that squad had. And Sunderland needed that. And do we think that this weekend just gone, could be that turning point? Potentially.
Well, you want it to be the catalyst for the season, really, because
I think at this rate it's going to have to be.
Yeah, because they need a platform, a base to build from, and obviously a win. Even though it was only Burn, but a win's a win. But yeah, I feel the Reading game will be massive. The next one to see if they can actually build, because if it ends up being a defeat or even a draw is not great, it could just all fall flat.
Because there's actually momentum around the club at the moment. There's positivity, and people are genuinely looking to see how far this club could get this year. And even if it is just safely, that's a building block.
Yeah, and I think there will be a few more fans because of Coleman and the victory, because that's what he's done.
And you say it's only Burton, but at the end of the day, it was a must-win game, so the pressure that would have been on them would probably have been quite high, and to manage with that and to come out and play, I wouldn't say, from what I've heard, the performance wasn't brilliant, but it was better and it was improving, and they've gone out there, they've got the win, they've got the clean sheet, and if they can keep taking that forwards, the Reading game is going to be huge as well, because Reading in the bottom half of the table, that's a game that Sunderland need to be winning. If they can come out and do it again, and at home, getting rid of that long record without a win at home, then I think they're already a long way to sorting themselves out, even if there are a few tougher games to come.
I think if you mentioned those tougher games, I think because of Wolves the week after, this Reading game is far more important. If it was against another mid-table team the week after, then there could be that momentum to build. But I think we're all fully aware that Wolves away, it's not exactly going to be an easy game. Probably not going to gain a point from it.
Yeah, if we could manage to win 2 games on the bounce, you never know what can happen in football. You could go both, and a point would be a brilliant result.
Yeah.
To keep the momentum going, 3 games unbeaten, 2 wins, 7 points would be absolutely massive. And we'd imagine it'd be a couple of points above the relegation zone as well.
So, Reading game coming up. What can you see happening, do you think?
Having seen Reading earlier this season as well, in that game they just sat back, and they've got quick players going forwards and they can counter attack well. Against Sunderland, I don't think Sunderland will throw that many players forward to allow them the space to counter attack, but are the defenders going to be up to stopping them? I know John O'Shea's probably not going to work that well up against a really quick side. It'll be interesting. I think Reading will score goals on Saturday. I don't think there's going to be another clean sheet. But then I've always thought, every game I've been to this season, I've always thought Sunderland have got goals in them as well. So I'm thinking it'll be a similar game to the Bolton game, with Sunderland having just a little bit more control. But I think Reading are probably going to win it, because I just feel like their style of play probably works better, and I think that Sunderland don't really have the pace defensively to deal with Reading's players going forwards.
And of course, we know that Reading are capable of scoring goals. They won 3-0 at home against Barnsley on Tuesday night. So there's definitely goals in there. Both teams, as you said, Roy, definitely have goals in them.
I feel like obviously you said there will be some goals, and I feel like Chris Coleman's not too bothered about that. He spoke about how I feel like if they score a goal, like we can score two more, especially with Graben playing. I don't think there's that many better natural finishers in the Premier League. In the Premier League, I wish. In the Championship.
I think I was quite shocked by Reading's result in midweek, actually, because they'd actually been on a run of 3 defeats in a row before that, I think. So they'll be in high spirits going into the game as well, having both sides just won their previous match. And as much as I'd like to finally see Sunderland win a game at the Stadium of Light,
I think
we all would, yeah.
I think it might not be this Saturday, although I don't think there's going to be too many better opportunities for it to happen anytime soon.
I feel like the atmosphere as well after the Coleman appointment and the Burton win will be a lot better, because sometimes it's been miserable, in fact, at the Stadium of Light. But I feel like there will be that added boost, not because a lot of the time you go there and it's already negative from like minute one, where from now I feel like there'll be some atmosphere. I feel like the fans will be really behind the team.
I think Saturday's going to be a weird one in terms of atmosphere, with Vito Minone returning, and his news recently that his mother's fighting for her life. So I think there'll be some kind of reaction from the Sunderland fans towards Vito Minone.
He deserves it. He not only that, but he was also a fantastic keeper when he was on rear side. We all remember that run to Wembley.
Yeah,
and how big a part he played in that.
Well, he's been missed really, because I think a lot of fans didn't mind that he left, but after seeing the two goalkeepers' forms we've had this week, he's been really missed.
It's one of those things that you don't realise what he got until it's gone.
Yeah,
he's a keeper that I liked quite a lot, but I can't get off my brain the Burnley away last season, New Year's Eve. In the 4-1.
So you went to that, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to that. Andre Gray beat him 3 times, and then Ashley Barnes from the spot I think beat him as well. And there's one goal there especially that he should not have conceded, and I think that might have just been because he hadn't really had too many games at that point. He wasn't the number one, and he might have just been a bit out of shape really. But
that's the thing. Jordan Pickford took that role over last year. And we were saying last week about how it was potentially bad to keep rotating goalkeepers, but at the same time, you need them both to be match fit. If it's a tough decision as a manager. Like, what do you do?
Well, both in an interview with White I've seen in the media recently, actually said for both keepers, himself and Jason Steele, it wasn't good to keep changing them about. And I think Reuter is a bit better than Steele. I mean, there's not much between them because they're both that bad. But I feel like Reuter still can be a relatively solid keeper in the Championship. So yeah.
Because over the pre-season, over the tours and all that, the performances that people were hearing from him in Europe were fantastic. Like, people were saying he should, Sunderland should just sign him straight away, and it took him a while, but when they did, it was just fantastic to see fans so positive about a signing again. And the season started, and it's just gone downhill since.
Yeah, I feel like he will probably play the majority of the games now, unless we sign a goalkeeper in January. But with funds so limited, I can't really see that happening. But I feel like he's got a chance to now prove himself, because despite the Millwall game, his awful mistakes in the second half, he actually did really well. If you forget about it, they would have been saying it was a really good performance. But I feel like from that second half, he's now built on a bit. He's got a clean sheet behind him now, and it's actually a chance to just be confident and actually be the goalkeeper he looked like we thought we had in pre-season, basically.
Because with goalkeepers, a lot of the time it is that confidence that if they haven't got it, we saw it with Julio Gomez during his time at Spurs. Because if you make a couple of errors and fans get on your back, it's tough to come back from that. Like, we've all seen it with various goalkeepers over the years. But if the fans can get behind someone, and we saw it with Jordan Pickford, he was a fantastic goalkeeper last season, and he had a lot of pressure put on him, but the fans really got behind him. And I'm not sure if it's just because he's a local lad, but that can change a goalkeeper. It really can. Just to have that positivity and that strength of character to get off your line that much faster. Just put your neck on the line that much more.
After reading what he spoke to the media recently, it does seem like he's now stepped up a level, mentally, because after a mistake it can potentially make you stronger. So yeah, and he also said it's not the best. We haven't seen the best of him so far, so I'm looking forward to that.
I mean, we've seen the worst of him. Let's face it. It can't really get much worse from those Millwall mistakes.
Yeah.
But I do think because there's been, even since that game there's been a lot of changes. Because it was the week after that when Coleman was appointed, we had the tough game at Villa, and then the win at Burton, and it's been, over a short period of time, a lot has changed at the club. Not necessarily personnel-wise, apart from the manager, but there is a feeling of positivity, which there hasn't been around the stadium for a long time.
I don't think I've actually seen it around the stadium in my time up here. It'd be interesting again on Saturday to see if it is different under Coleman. It was the Bolton game when Sunderland took the lead. I think it was the first time they'd taken the lead in the entire calendar year, and there was actually a really positive atmosphere at that point. Okay, they were only in the lead for about 3 minutes, but it was interesting to see how the players reacted to that, and how the fans then reacted to the players who, in those 3 minutes, they were playing all right. And even after that, even after Bolton had equalised again, the team were playing so much better than I've seen them play. And okay, they might only have been against Bolton, but Bolton recently have been picking up points, so they're not that bad a side, and it was interesting to see the players react to the noise from the crowd, and hopefully, if the fans do get behind Coleman and the team on Saturday, it'd be similar against Reading.
You keep hearing fans say this, it's only Bolton, it's only Burton. It's points, and at the end of the day, it shouldn't matter who it's against. As long as there's points being created from somewhere, that's surely all that matters.
Yeah, it's just when you want to see how we can do against a better team. I think Reading are not amazing, but around 16th in the table. But if we can win that game, it'll be really interesting to see how we do against Wolves, because obviously Wolves are better than us, but it's not like our team's awful. We've got some half decent players in there.
Because there's Premiership quality players in both teams.
Yeah.
It's just, I think that if there's a positive result against Reading, which I'm not sure what positive is, it could be a draw, could be 3 points, could be dominating the game and only getting a draw. Either way, I think if the team comes out of Saturday feeling positive and that they've put in a good shift, going to Wolves it's not a game which is expected to win. So all the pressure's going to be on Wolves, and I think that's something that this squad could really, really get behind.
Yeah, I feel like the players should be buoyant going into the game. They should be getting at them from minute one, and actually showing the fans like the effort levels which we haven't seen. Because going into the stadiums, like it looks like half the players, I don't think they'll ever like not try, but they could try more basically, and they could actually put more effort in.
It's almost as though relegation's confirmed already, and it's not. It's still November. There's so much more of the season to go.
I mean, it's just that like demeanour at the club over the past couple of years. Like Simon Grayson spoke about it in saying that he's trying to get rid of like the attitudes of the players who have been through all the negative times in the past couple of years, like Catmull or Shea, because they're just used to like losing, especially O'Shea from going from Manchester United, winning all the time, and now it's just
it's a big drop off.
Yeah, and he was saying that Simon Grayson was saying he couldn't change, and then it affected the other players as well because when you start losing games, it's almost the same, and it's just that sort of like attitude now. Well, hopefully was at the club.
It's a tough situation to come into if you've come from a winning squad, or even just a competitive squad, coming to Sunderland with the mood that was around the place at the start of the season. It must have been so tough for the likes of Aidan McGeady, McManaman to come in and try to make a difference when they know they're just part of this mess.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's what maybe it still is, maybe not, but give it 2 months ago, the club was in an absolute state.
Yeah, I mean, there's something obviously there to. If Chris Coleman can get it right, then hopefully he could be in the Premier League within the next 2-3 years.
It's definitely achievable. That's the thing.
Yeah, just need to try and change. Something needs to change through the club. Whether it's like I say, it needs the owner to like leave and someone else to be there with a chief executive, but something. Hopefully, Coleman's the first step.
I think it all starts with a mentality, and that does come from Chris Coleman. Because we've seen the interviews that he's given have been so positive. He clearly knows that the club is a big club, and he's clearly got ideas as to what he can do to change the fortunes of the place.
One of the best things is he genuinely seems pleased to be here, which is a change. And yes, as you said, just needs the mentality just needs to change. And hopefully you can do that.
And it's this mentality which is going to really come into the Reading game, I think, because there's so many opportunities to build something from this.
Yeah, I think the mentality is going to be important. I think Sunderland haven't won a home game all season, and
beyond.
It's going to be tough. Getting that out of the way is going to be tough, and I think Reading's probably the right game for it to happen. They've won only 3 of their away games this season. One of them was back in August against Birmingham, and then the other 2 recently away at Derby, and then the one I was at away at Leeds. And definitely Leeds at that time were in a bad run of form. Birmingham at that time were in a bad run of form, and Derby weren't in the greatest of form. So I think realistically, I think it's there for Sunderland to win, and I think Coleman will know that, and I think he might set his team up knowing that there's goals there if they want to get them. But then his style seems to have been more possession based, I think, in recent weeks, which means maybe they won't actually just go for it. But I don't know. What do you?
I think that idea of possession there is really important, because for the last, I don't know how many years, but it's been a long time, there's not been a real passing presence in the Sunderland midfield. It's always been signing players like Lee Catmull, Didier Ndong, who are just going to win the ball back, and then there's nothing else there to their game. And if Coleman can get in the right players, I know there's not much money going around at the moment, but if there's an opportunity to get in just one playmaker, I really think that could change everything. Considering, like you said, Chris Coleman's really trying to build a possession game.
I feel like after Darren Gibson came on against Burton, I feel like he could potentially be the player, but we haven't seen it enough in the past. But
it just seems so weird saying Darren Gibson could change this season.
And what do you think on the Burton game about the goals? I think both from pretty much the exact same spot on the pitch where the final contact was made. So both from close range, which seems to have been quite constant this season with Sunderland's goals. What do you think to the goals that were scored?
I think the first one was a really good ball in by Oviedo, and Catamall actually doing something in attacking senses was seeing that was a bit strange, but he did really well flicking the ball on into the danger area, and what you want is a forward there in the positions to score them, and James Vaughan was. And the second one, we haven't seen much from Joel Asoro, but he did really well. It's one of the first times I've seen him where he was so positive. He beat his man and he actually put in a good ball. Cause
in fact, it was only last week that we were kind of slacking him off, weren't we? We were saying he's not good enough. He needs to be able to build up to get to this level, and came in and just shut us all up over the weekend.
To be fair, all the players from the bench did well who've not done great in the past, like Gibson and especially Vaughan as well this season. All of them have had room for improvement, and it was nice to see some positive changes in who've actually affected the team in a good way.
Yeah, I think I was slightly surprised to see that Asoro got the assist, but even looking back at the footage, it looked like, to me, I've not seen it back that many times, but it looked like Asoro's shot might even have been going in itself. So if it had been, I'd probably rather it had been left, because I think that would have been a good confidence boost for him. But I guess the rest of the players actually celebrated with him rather than the goal scorer anyway.
Yeah, but I feel like it still will be a confidence boost to him, especially because I feel like Coleman will see what his potential he has actually got. Because if he can keep doing that, because he's absolutely rapid on the right hand side, so obviously the team needs pace, and it doesn't have a lot of it, so he is an option from the bench.
Because we know that he's got the technical ability, because he's shown it in the under-23s and coming up through the youth system. It's just whether he can build on that and progress it into the championship. And at the moment, it's a bit 50-50. He's shown, like we said over the weekend, flashes of brilliance. Whether he can begin to do it, I know he's young, but if he can just start to do it on a regular basis, I think you've really got something there.
Yeah, I feel like he needs a manager who's going to really be behind him, almost tell him he's amazing almost. Because I feel like he thinks he's really good, I think, and he's got that ability, he's got that potential to actually do it, especially in the Championship, to actually try and influence games in a positive way.
And Chris Coleman clearly wants to play young players, because he had Thomas Browning playing, he had George Honeyman starting as well on Saturday, so he clearly thinks there's something in the youth ranks.
Well, Browning's only on loan, but
he's still young.
We've all seen the under-23s a few times over the last couple of years. And there's been some calls, understandably, for a few under-23 players to be put into the first team.
And reaching the Premier League International Cup final last year shows that there's genuine development there.
Any players in particular that either you two think from the under-23 squad that should be given more of a chance?
I think one who I've seen who's impressed is Embleton, and I think he's one of the ones who's closest to the first team. I feel like he's made the bench on a few occasions, but I'm pretty sure he's not made his debut yet. So, yeah, he's one to look out for, hopefully, in the future.
I think he was in the Toulon tournament squad as well.
Yeah, I think he was, yeah.
Someone that I really like is Lyndon Gooch. He's very much a fringe player between the two at the moment. But I mean, there's not really that attacking midfielder in the squad, and I think he could potentially fit that really well.
I've been impressed with what I've seen from Lyndon Gooch over the last couple of years, to be honest. He's been one player who, to me, has always looked like he could step into, maybe not in the Premier League last season, but this season, certainly, I think he could step into that team and play a really big role for Sunderland at times. And it's disappointing to see he's not really been used that much so far, and it will be interesting to see if Coleman...
He's been named on the bench a bit, hasn't he? But he's not really had the chance to come on and impact games in the way that we've seen in the under-23s, because we know that he can do it.
Yeah, that's one thing I've seen, because some games you'll play really well, come off the bench and influence the game, but then he won't play again for the next 3 or 4 games, which That's obviously, it doesn't help. I mean, he can't be consistent because he can't. If he's coming in for 20 minutes every now and then.
I mean, we were talking about stability in the goalkeeper position. In reality, it kind of needs to be all over the pitch as well.
Yeah.
Because centre back, other than John O'Shea, it's tough to really find a suitable partner for him at the moment.
I feel like it will be Browning for the time being.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they've played 2 games in a row, both of them now. And obviously, I feel like the defence will be the same with the clean sheet, and I can't see that being many changes back there. But there is the midfield. There is still room for like manoeuvre, especially with the youngsters.
I think on the subject of the youngsters, it's a disappointing result for them at the weekend. At home against Swansea under 23s, fell to a 2-0 defeat with Ollie McBurney getting both the goals. Swansea under 23s have been pretty good in recent seasons, but have lost, I think, 6-2 to Newcastle this week as well. So it's a disappointing result at the weekend for the under 23s.
And there we go, the birth of our first feature, Rory with the under 23 updates.
But yeah, it really would be nice to see some youth players coming through, but I feel like at the minute we do need some experience, obviously, as well, because you need the likes of, even though he hasn't been doing that well, Cattermole does have experience to his name, but...
Yeah. And I think it's important to have, I know it's a cliche, but you do need a wide variety of players in there.
Yeah.
Because as much as you can have young, quick, like free-thinking players, you still need, every now and again, you do just need players who can just like anchor the midfield. Keep everyone's minds going.
Yeah.
Just make sure there's no complacency.
Yeah, it's like, I think that's why like John O'Shea plays for like the defence purposes.
Yeah.
Because he's basically done it all.
It's really, really interesting, and I think that potentially against Reading, not so much against Wolves because that's going to be a very tough game as it is, but I think against Reading there could be an opportunity to not mix it up, but potentially off the bench bring a couple of younger players on, potentially.
Well, I think the Wolves game will be an interesting one because they're, from what I've seen, very much a possession-based side, and so if Coleman's trying to bring that in for Sunderland, then it might be a game where not that many chances are created, and if Sunderland can get that chance and put it away, then I can see them getting something from that game.
You're being very positive about that, to be honest. In all honesty, I'm not really expecting much from the Wolves game. I'd say 5 shots on target is a good result, to be honest. It sounds harsh, but Wolves have been incredible this year. And some of the players they've got are stupidly good for this level.
But they have still lost.
They have, but not to clubs of Sunderland's level.
That's
no offence.
maybe true.
Well, I do think that obviously there will be goals under Chris Coleman as a whole. Like,
oh yeah.
In both ends, to be fair, because I feel like he even himself would rather win a game 3-2 than like 0-0.
Yeah.
Which is it's pretty good, but I mean, with our defensive record, I can see it being the other way a couple of times.
I think having that, I've said it a couple of minutes ago, but having an anchor in front of the back four, because it was Jan Kirchhoff at the start of last year, before his injury. You've got Lee Cattermole doing it this season in his role. Didier Ndong potentially coming back soon. I think those players are vital to, or those sort of players are vital to any squad, just to really add a spine, because otherwise there's not. You can have all the attacking threat you want, but you need to be able to have that defensive stability as well.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Ndong can actually play that role. I'd like to see him just not even really go forward at all, because he's great at winning the ball back, and then if he can release it to other players and just sit back basically.
Because all you really need him to do is have him as a N'Golo Kante-esque player.
Yeah.
Not to the same extent, but just win the ball back, play simple passes to midfielders who can put the ball forward.
Yeah, all the previous managers seem to think he's some sort of attacking player. I remember playing right wing under David Moyes at one point.
That was David Moyes.
Yeah. To be fair, I think he did this season under Middlesbrough as well. But he almost needs to be like a limited midfielder, because just needs to win the ball back, give it to, I don't know, Darren Gibson or Lyndon Gooch or Honeyman, whoever's going forward in the midfield, and let them do it. And his job should just be winning the ball back to the team and going back and helping the defence.
So Reading at home this weekend. Any predictions? Anyone willing to stick the neck on the line?
3-1.
Oh, okay.
Who's who?
Sunderland, of course.
Well, I would say
That's been very bold by myself.
I'll go for 2-2. I think.
I'm being a little bit pessimistic and saying 1-1, but that is me being pessimistic. If I was, I could quite easily see it going either way. I'd like to think that Sunderland have what it takes now, but Burton was just one game. It was just 90 minutes of football at the end of the day, and we've all seen clubs who can have one. I mean, we saw it with the Palace game away towards the end of last season. A fantastic game away, and then each game either side of that was just back to what we expected from a club managed by David Moyes.
I'm hoping we can get grabbing some more chances. I remember he had a chance in the Burton game which he probably should have tucked away, but it was a brilliant save actually. But if we can get him a couple, 2 or 3 chances, I mean, he'd probably score at least one of them, because he's that sort of player where he gets in them sort of areas where he can get a good chance. No doubt he'll go in the back of the net, and that's why I think it'll be 3-1.
Fair play.
Would you make any changes to the lineup for the game?
If Ndong's back, because I think he went back home because
I've still not. I've tried to find it today. I can't see any news about his return or anything.
Yeah, I think it was a family bereavement why
Yeah.
he went back. But if he is available in the squad, then I'd definitely put him in front of Cattermole. I feel like Honeyman will start again, and maybe Darren Gibson because of how he came on against Burton. But apart from that, I feel like on the wings it'll still be McGeady and McManaman, and obviously grabbing up front.
Yeah, I don't think I would change too much, to be honest. I
feel like there'll be one maybe.
There's been
with the
pretty good performance against.
Yeah, with a performance like that against Burton, I don't see why there's need to change much, unless, like you said, of course, Alex, there are players coming back like Didier Ndong, who I've not seen any news. So as far as I know, it's going to be Cattermole again. But if Ndong is back, I'd say put him in.
I'd be tempted to just play Darren Gibson after doing well on his substitute appearance last weekend. I think Cattermole supposedly didn't manage to play that well in that role, and I think Gibson might be a better choice for it. But other than that, I think there's not really much need to change it.
I mean, if you do want to try and play that possession-based game, I wouldn't say that Cattermole's the first option to put in. It would probably be Gibson, I'd say.
Because Gibson has in the past proven he can pass a ball, whereas in a Sunderland shirt it seems like sometimes he can't. But that's why he does have a calming presence to him sometimes when he plays. So he can bring that to the team, and that's sometimes what they need. Just calm down, just pass the ball a bit.
Yeah.
Because the amount of wasteful midfielders we've had, including Cattermole, has let us down.
So Alex, you're going 3-1. I think I said 1-1, and Rory, yours was 2-2. So there we are. That is the final moments of episode 2 of Silences Coleman. Thanks for turning up again, lads, and hopefully we'll see you again next week.